Hey guys, I'm William from House by the Video Store, and in this video I'm talking about the newest movie from director Michael Dougherty, Krampus. Now, of course, Michael Dougherty directed the cult hit Trick or Treat, which was a Halloween-based anthology film a few years back. And this movie is solely focused on the holiday of Christmas, more specifically the character Krampus, who is a mythological creature who's linked to Santa Claus. He's kind of the evil version of Saint Nick, who instead of giving to good kids, takes from bad kids. That's kind of all the synopsis you really need for this movie. The main character, Max, has a crisis of faith in the holiday of Christmas, which brings Krampus to town, and everyone has to deal with it. This movie has a great cast with Adam Scott, Toni Collette, Allison Tolman, David Koechner, and some pretty good child actors who bring a lot to the table. This movie is a PG-13 movie, so it's unlike Trick or Treat, which is rated R, but don't despair, there is still some cursing in this movie. There's even an F-bomb, and it doesn't dissuade the things Dougherty has done in his past movie in Trick or Treat. This isn't a movie where the kids are invincible, can't be touched. That's not this type of world this movie is in, so don't fret, it's not completely toothless. On the other hand, it doesn't have a lot of gratuitous violence or gore, so if that's what you're looking for, you're not really going to find it here. But it still does have some, violence and some gore. It's just not as much as you would get from an R-rated slasher fest. The creature designs in this movie are all really good. Some of the characters, if you've seen any of the previews or trailers, are CGI, which, a lot of times they kind of frown on, but in this case, they're characters you really couldn't do any other way. And I think that they work pretty well, but the main thing is, what does Krampus look like? And I have to say, in this movie, Krampus is a very intimidating creature. It's a huge creature. It stays relatively close to what the legends are as to what his appearance would be and the way he acts. They do obviously change a few things just for the movie and for the story to make sense, but it does stick, relatively close to the legend and lore. I mentioned it has a great cast. Everybody brings a lot to the table. Everybody's kind of fun to watch. Even though these aren't all the most likable characters, they are all relatively relatable characters, which is something that, brings something to the table for this. And this isn't a movie that hates the holiday of Christmas. Quite the opposite. It kind of, this movie and Trick or Treat are kind of, odes to the holidays. So if you remember Trick or Treat, it was about a celebration of Halloween, kind of, and culture and customs that go along with that. And this is kind of the same thing here. It kind of shows, what happens when people don't really follow the holiday in the spirit it was intended to be followed in. So if you're wondering how it works as a horror film, I think that there are some scares and there are some moments of tension. There's kind of a tonal shift because the horror elements are all played very straight. There are some moments of humor here and there, but the horror's played straight. It's not, it's not one of those movies where all the characters are unharmed at the end of the thing, and you're just kind of like, what happened? This is a movie where characters can have things happen to them, and I think that all of the story beats work pretty well. The thing I think that will cause the most problems for people with this movie is, of course, the ending, which is kind of how all horror films work. I'm not spoiling anything here about the movie, really. If you want to see a more in-depth discussion, you can wait for the new podcast we'll have coming out, where we'll discuss this movie and go into spoilers. So this is just, my reaction and kind of recommendations on it. So just to reiterate, I think the ending is something that may cause some issues for some people. If you were a fan of Trick or Treat, or if you're not aware what Trick or Treat did, it's more just an examination, kind of the dark side of a holiday, and kind of a morality tale and kind of things like that. So I think this movie kind of, operates in a similar mode. It's not a super straightforward narrative where it's, like a slasher, and, this isn't similar to something like, say, Goosebumps, where it was aimed at kids and was PG and, was focused on cheap scares, things like that. I'd say this is a little bit more similar to something like, say, Gremlins, in that it's a Christmas movie that has a dark edge, and I think this is actually a little bit darker than Gremlins. I'm not putting this on the same level right now. I need to rewatch this again and kind of think about it. But I do think that, in terms of Christmas-based horror movies, this is one of the best ones I can think of in recent memory. So it's definitely something if you enjoyed Trick or Treat, or if you just want to see a horror movie this holiday season, this is kind of something you need to go check out. I really enjoyed it. I think all the performances are great. The character of Krampus, even though it doesn't really, have much of a character, the actual effects and, the ominous feelings you can see him on screen, it all works for me. So I thought it was a fun movie. It's PG-13, so you can take the younger kids. It might be a little bit scary for anybody that's too young. But it's a movie I enjoyed, and I think if you're looking for a horror movie to check out in theaters, you should do yourself a favor and go check out Krampus, the newest movie from Michael Dougherty. Thanks for watching.